Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Not Funny Guys presents Red Dwarf Rewatch, and we have reached the end of Series 12, which means we only have Promised Land left, which is terrifyingly scared, but we'll pass through this. We will make it. We will persevere. So let's talk about Series 12, Episode 6, Skipper, directed and written by Doug Naylor, released on the 16th of November, 2017. So let's jump right into this. So we open with Rimmer working at the table in the main quarters when Cat comes in, dressed him as Officer Smegsy. He's tired of interrupting, complaining about being interrupted by the cat. Talks about the cat's inability to see himself in the reflection without being distracted, which is immediately proves the point when Lister and Crichton come in and they found something and he immediately does not recognize their presence. They apparently found Captain Hollister's old appraisal files and they start reading through them. We discover that apparently he does consider Lister to be bright, but not living up to his potential. And then Rimmer gets a hold of it and they're like, don't let him read it, he's not going to read it. So he starts reading it, good family, and then when he gets to him, he starts doing blah 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 over the what we would consider the good parts. Proceeds to get very angry as he finishes. Goes, woe is me. He blames the crew around him for being part of the problem, but then they all kind of point at each other and smile at him. It's like, no, look, Lister's quite bright. So he's still sore about all of it. So they're in bed bay when Crichton talks about trying to get Lister to eat some fruit. Rimmer is working on some wires when all of a sudden Crichton notices the scanners that there's some sort of anomaly happening. They penetrate their universe. And Rimmer then goes on about how he hates the word anomaly. Also hates the word continuum. He thinks it's too snooty. Word views and all that. But they get hit by this, whatever it is, and an emergency voice comes on, telling them to go to their quarters. Lister and Cat, who are in the corridor, like, no, we got to get to the science room, and immediately they're in their quarters. Something's going on. They spontaneously. Then something about Cat, Lister's like, Cat said, maybe we should make some coffee and think about this. Cat says, I'm not making any coffee, and then all of a sudden he's made coffee. So something is out of whack. They're jumping around. Crichton and Rimmer are in the med bay, working on the damage report. Keep requesting it, can't get the requested report. Then they decide they don't want it, and all of a sudden it appears to them. And now things are starting to make sense. Anything they say that they want or won't do happens. So the opposite. So if they want something, they won't get it. If they say they won't do something, they'll do it. Like with the coffee and everything with Lister and the cat. Rimmer tells Crichton not to tell the rest of the crew, and then immediately he's sitting down on the intercom telling them. Crichton decides to test the hypothesis, and the choices we don't make are the ones that then happen. Because he literally tosses an apple, and then an orange appears in Rimmer's hands on the other side of things. So whatever choice you make, the ones that you don't, that's the one you get. Cat polishes Lister's boots at one point, even though he refuses to, and finally finds a way. And then they finally figure out how to get to the others, but except Cat keeps messing up when they go to the lift, because they can't call the lift. They have to say, we're going to take the stairs, not the lift, but Cat keeps messing it up. Basically, everything they reject creates an alternate universe, and they've stumbled upon one where everything they don't want to happen does happen. Different versions of their current life. Trying to figure out the origin of this lesion that has happened that's opened up, and Crichton basically figures out that it must be because of the device he's working on that would let them skip around a quantum jumper, or a quantum skipper as they call it. He repairs it and they seal the lesion. But now they fix that, but Rimmer is the only one who decides he wants to use it in order to find a quote-unquote better universe. Rimmer takes the device, and he is told he does have to recharge it. It does take some time. Rimmer appears to have written a farewell speech, because he's the only one going, and it just says, see ya, and then he jumps. Now he's on Red Dwarf in his JMC uniform. And all of a sudden, we see Norman Lovett. Yay! Returning as Holly one more time. They end up in a conversation, having a whole conversation about whether or not Holly is Looney Tunes still, cuckoo. And as they're talking, he gives Lister the exact same speech he gives Rimmer the exact same speech he gave Lister back in the episode The End about how the crew is all dead. Now they're all alive. He's on Red Dwarf in a universe where Lister has just gone into stasis for smuggling the cat on board, and the crew has not yet been killed by Rimmer's aka negligence yet. But then the radiation leak happens. Yeah. It hasn't happened, then it does happen. He can't jump away yet. He ends up sort of scrambling around as everybody else is flailing. He finds Captain Hollister. Mac is back, baby. He is in the escape pod. He's planning to abandon ship, but the pod jams. And just as the radiation is about to hit him and the captain, River skips away. He's now in another universe. Finds himself in the quarters, and the quarters are very fine and luxurious. Very well done, very tasteful. Comes upon Crichton, and in this world, he has stumbled upon a world where he and Lister share similar interests of being sophisticated. In fact, Lister is collecting wires, and this really intrigues Rimmer. However, there is no cat. This is a world where there is only Mr. Rat, and he's come to join them for dinner. He also, this is where apparently Lister in this universe smuggled a rat aboard instead of a cat. And now the rats never abandoned, like the cats fled to do their little holy war thing and find Fuji. Or no, they were looking for Fiji, but it was whatever they called it. Now they control most of the decks. So Rimmer is like, okay, I'm out. He's on a red dwarf. He finds this one full of listers. Jumps again. Then he jumps onto another one where now he is the computer. And Crichton wipes his monitor. He's Holly, and you see him pull up the little remote in black and like, I'm out. And now you then jumps to a world where he's on a table about to be sacrificed to the other 3 crew members standing over him. Jumps out of that one. And then we see a montage of him jumping between different red dwarfs and like, nope. Finds one where he is finally human. Not only is he human, he is a navigation officer, and he is married with 4 boys. It's a universe where he basically has everything he wants. Crew member comes up to him and says, the captain wants to see you. He goes to see the captain. The captain is Lister. He ends up refusing cigar, drinks, burger, anything he's being offered. This Lister, again, has no idea how anything works, but apparently he is where he is because he discovered a faulty drive plate and saved the ship. So the one thing that starts to become very clear here is that he did the one thing that Rimmer completely failed at. He takes him to the Rimmer's quarters, which apparently is their old bunks. They've arrived on Earth. Lister is married to a stripper. Yeah. Apparently he was offered hush money when he found the defective plate. Refused it instead for stocks, and then later stumbled upon a giant planet of helium-7, which, if we remember, is kind of a super rare mineral, make you rich. He's super rich now. Rimmer realizes that this world may be everything he ever wanted, but he can't live here because it's a world where Lister is better off than him. So petty. So he jumps away, ends up back on his red dwarf. They ask him how it's going. He drops the remote. He stomps on it, and then apparently this is the only world where he doesn't end up feeling like a loser because he's got all these other losers instead. And that is where we have reached the end of Series 12. Next time is The Promised Land. And that will be where we will coming to a finite-ish end of the Red Dwarf shows and episodes, but will not be done. I do want to say, I found this little bit of trivia while I was doing some research for this episode, that apparently back in Series 9 with Back to Earth, apparently it was established then that the Rimmer who's on the ship is the one who left in Series 7 to become Ace Rimmer, who simply returned, apparently. Doug Naylor confirmed it. I found it interesting. Thought I'd share that there. We have reached the end of Series 12. Sad, but true. Still, very fun episode. Little lag in the middle, but the end and the beginning of this one are obviously my favorite, particularly the jumping around, doing opposite things, and then obviously Rimmer's snobbishness about the way he wants his life to be. So, absolutely dead on hilarious. As I said, we got Promised Land back, and then we'll take a small hiatus, and then we'll be back with News Radio. But in the meantime, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. If you want to write us directly, we have all our socials in the below, but we also have our main email down there, but you can write us here, and it is in the ticker, notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about how things are going. Like I said, we'll be moving on to doing news radio. We've only got 4 seasons of that one, but we'll have fun. As I've said in the past, the last time Joe Rogan and Andy Dick were funny. And I stand by that, in my opinion. Tell me otherwise. There's a challenge. All right. If in the meantime, if you want to catch up on some of our other not funny stuff over here on the YouTube, we do the TV shows and all that stuff, but we also have been recently sharing some of our main episodes from our main podcast, Not Funny Guys Presents Off the Reels. So you should be seeing some of those if you're following along, if you're subscribed, which you should be subscribed. Don't make me put you on report, Mulatto. But if you do see that over here, but you also want to check out the podcast where we have the same stuff, that we are currently working our way through the theatrical Batman. So that's Not Funny Guys Presents Off the Reels. We're doing the theatrical Batman releases. We should be having the next one coming out is Mask of the Phantasm, and then we're moving on to Batman Forever. We are going chronological. If that's not your cup of tea and you're more interested in, say, wrestling and horror movies, you can check out my other colleagues, not Casey and Eric, my other not funny colleagues. They have a podcast, Not Funny Guys Presents Wrestling with the Horror of It All, where they talk about that stuff. And then if you're into the more academic stuff, my name is Dr. John. I am a doctor, not a medical doctor. I don't give out that kind of advice, but I do have a PhD. I talk with my other fellow doctor, Dr. Kristen, our Not Funny gal, over on Not Funny Guys Presents Thinking About Thinking. We recently did a series on anti-Semitism, and we'll be getting back to some new episodes next week. So check those out. Subscribe to all those podcasts, or at least the ones you're interested in. We would greatly appreciate it. We see a lot of stuff from people all around the world listening to us, and we just want to keep that growing. Until the next time, remember, don't be a smeghead. Keep it not funny, and I'll see you again soon.